Good morning, listeners. It is Tried and True, the morning after show presented by Heineken 0.0. Slightly different format this week as we work to get back into Audi Field after home games. And so we're coming to you the day after. Heads are a little sore, voices are a little hoarse. But DC United got another 3 points against Inter Miami. And guys, it was a very different looking game from the last time we played Miami, or at least in terms of the score. But it's a big 3 points, and it felt good. How's everybody feeling this morning?
I mean, I don't have any sore heads, so I think you can speak for yourself in that one. But definitely the voice, a little scratchy. But it was so fun. Audi Field was rocking. The section was so much fun to be in. It was so great having everyone there again. And I feel like what a game to be home for again.
Yeah, DC United started off.
And
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I almost disagree with you, John. I think this game looked a lot like the last game as far as DC United being in control. The scoreline was probably a little bit closer than it should have been based on the game we were watching, because DC United was the better team from end to end. I mean, having two players sent off certainly doesn't do Miami any favors, but we were well in control of the game before those ejections happened.
Yeah, I thought we started off early and often, and we'll get into some of the reasons why the score line wasn't any prettier. But, man, DC United, I felt dominated and should have made more of their chances. It was fun.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll get into a little bit about some of those chances and where we could have potentially had more goals. But your guys are absolutely right. I mean, in terms of dominating the game, it absolutely felt like it, and we got a shout out early and often. Andy Nahar out there again against Miami looked to be one of the best players on the field. And if you didn't know much about DC United or about Inter Miami, and you just knew that there was a lot of star power in the mix, you could be forgiven for thinking that Andy Nahar was, the big star out there because he made a couple of Miami players look silly again. And you love to see what he's brought to this team this year.
Yeah, that ridiculous nutmeg on Blaise Matuidi, who he's had a lackluster MLS career, but 2-3 years ago he was winning World Cups with France and starting for Juventus. So there's no small feat to absolutely undress him in the middle of the field, and he definitely did that.
Go ahead.
So we're a little bit out of sorts this morning with being back on Zoom. We're waiting to see who's going to jump in next. Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it was great to see Donovan Bynes back in the lineup too. He, I think, did really, really well in the back, and he got forward a little bit too. I loved seeing him. It looked like he had so much confidence and that he hadn't really missed a step.
Yeah, he definitely, he's tried that before, and he tried it yesterday. I don't know if it exactly came off. But yeah, you do love to see the confidence from him, from Paredes, who I think is, guys, he might be too good for DC United, or at least he's on that trajectory. Yeah, he did well, and then I think it's great to have Paul back. It's just so much fun right now. Everyone's playing with confidence, and almost everyone should be playing with confidence, and it's been a lot of fun to watch the guys go out.
Yeah, and I think. Obviously, I think we'd love to play Miami every week based on the way that we've played them recently. They're a team that's struggling, but sometimes you've got to just take what the opponent gives you. Like you said, everybody looked comfortable. They looked like they knew what they were doing. They seem to all be bought in on the style of play that Losada wants them to play. I'm sure that Losada will tell us that they're not quite there yet, that they've got ways to go to improve, but when you get results like you got last night and what you got a couple weeks ago against Miami, that really can give you a platform to build on through the rest of the season. I mean, right now we're in a playoff spot, which I'd take.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked a lot about like the expectations for the year early in the season and where it's been, and I think the expectation is to beat teams like Miami, and the team have gone out and done it, and somewhat convincingly, at least at times. And so all you can ask them to do is what we kind of expect them to do, and they've done that. So can't be mad, at least for me.
Yeah, I want to go back real quick to what you guys have brought up, Donovan Pine's performance. And, first of all, this was the first game, I think, ever that the four of us got to sit/stand together and then talk about the game afterwards. And we've watched a lot of games together last year during COVID, but, in person this year with, distancing and bubbles for the first few games. I mean, it's funny for me to think back on last night of like, we had this conversation already because we talked about it in the stands, and we talked a little bit about Donovan Pines last night. And I was fearful, from watching DC United in the past of just how far up the pitch he was going. There were times when all 10 DC United players, aside from Bill Hamid, were in the attacking half. And that's Losada ball, right? That's the system we want to play. It still gives me a little bit of a lump in my chest sometimes of like, oh God, this is going to go poorly, but it didn't. And Donovan Pines is really coming into his own. I think the confidence for him is there. And it's just, it's so fascinating to watch this tall, lanky dude just get down the field and make plays. He's something else.
Yeah. And have we even talked about that Bill is like back? Like, it was so good to see him in the goal. He came over and everyone started chanting Bill Hamid, and he kind of like pumped his fist. Like, it was so good to see him. And I think we have that assurance. Black says all the time that Bill is good for saving 1 or 2 clear goals a game. So that really lends itself to this system when you have the entire defense up. Obviously, you're hoping that they're getting back and stopping any shots before they happen. But if they do happen, that you have Bill in the back. Which, was he really tested all that much yesterday?
He had one big save in the first half. And there was some attacking from Miami. They weren't completely blown away. Yeah,
but it didn't feel like there were any moments that really made me nervous.
Comparatively, when we used to make Bill make 20 saves a game.
True. Yeah, you're right.
It's nothing compared to that. Yeah,
that's very true.
That's why I still have nightmares about us pushing forward when Bill had to stand on his head for seasons.
I'll tell you what, though, Bill was across the midline when Ola was lining up to take the penalty.
Oh yeah.
I think the official stats credited him with 1 save on the day. I believe it was the one where he came out and shut down Breck Shea, which definitely had us a word from it. And if that ball goes in, maybe we're looking at a very different game. So great to have him back out there, and love to see it.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that says a lot to this style and the way the team has been able to successfully implement it. Is under the last coach, we sat back and just absorbed all these shots. And in this system, I think everyone was really worried about having like a leaky back line and, were they good enough? Are we going to be able to like maintain that high press? But for Bill to have only had to have made 1 save, then I think it's working.
I think it's working too. And we kind of have it in our notes here. But I'll bring it up in the way Losada talked early in the season about possession doesn't matter. I don't care about that stuff. But then I put on his Instagram story after the game, and he's got the stats from the match pulled up again with circles around possession and shots. And I was like, and there was positively only or something kind of quote there. So it is interesting. I think I'm sure that he wants to dominate. Maybe that's a little bit of he's experienced some bunkering in MLS, especially the Orlando game sticks out to me. And so, and he was very upset about that. He was very upset at the way the Orlando played against us here in DC. And so maybe he's saying, all right, if you want to bunker, then I will. I'll take 68% possession and we'll dominate the game that way.
Yeah, I feel like that's a great transition into the into the presser. I will say, as you're pulling it up, that if you don't follow Hernan Losada on Instagram, it's a must follow because his stories are so funny. He's always posting about soccer. He's doing a little tour of the DMV. He's showing up everywhere. So definitely worth a follow.
Yeah.
All right, and then I think now we're gonna throw it over to his press conference from last night. So we're gonna hear from Coach Hernan Losada first.
Hey, Coach, it's Zach. Congrats on the points.
Hey, Zach. Thank you.
Coach, would you like to start with some thoughts?
Yes, sure. Well, first of all, the obvious remark, I'm very happy with the points here at home with our first time with full capacity. And once again, with the way we take the points and we keep the points at home, I think the 3 points are more than deserved based on all the chances we create. Once again, after 6-7 minutes, and please to all the journalists here present in this press conference, correct me if I'm wrong, but we should be 2-0 after 6-7 minutes. And when you start missing your chances, it comes a kind of a deja vu. And as long as the game is 0-0 and you are investing and wasting so much energy on pressing high and all those opportunities that you are creating, then of course the opponent also have quality players. And at the end of the first half, we needed a good Villamid to have, in my eyes, the only big opportunity that Inter Miami had in this game. And after that, in the second half, well, we tried to force things, putting a second forward, bringing speed up front, 2 number 9s, start to open up the field with Kevin and with Julian, and try to start playing crosses in the box, pushing forward, and finally you score on a good cross on the second post, and handball and the penalty, and after that the game was just over. I still wanted to go for the second and third goal, but due to the circumstances, the weather, and knowing that on Wednesday you have another game, it was better to save some energy. And again, a more than deserved victory in front of our fans, and very pleased and happy with the effort that all the players did tonight.
Great, thank you, Coach. We'll go to Steve Goff first. Steve, go ahead.
Hi, Hernan. What describe your level of faith and belief in Ola after he had many chances in the first half, and then to see him step up for the penalty?
100%. I have 100% trust in all my players, in all 26 players that I have. I believe in them. I support them in good and bad moments. And I was talking with Ola. I know Ola is disappointed with the chances he missed today, but still in that difficult moment, he wants to take the ball, and he shot it with full of confidence. So at the end, he scored the winning goal. But he needs to know, and he knows that, again, we don't want to have so many scoring chances every single game. And to win twice in a row against an Inter Miami full of names and a budget that is a lot bigger than the budget that we have, twice keeping the clean sheet in our goal, it's fantastic. So Ola keeps on growing, but knowing that he needs to be a lot more efficient in front of the goal, because in the future it's gonna cost us a lot of energy and a lot of trouble if we don't put the ball in the back of the net.
We'll go to Jason Anderson.
Hi, Hernan. Congratulations on the win. As you said, the start of the game, you were really all over Miami. But after a while, they started to maybe slow the tempo down and play. It seemed like they were playing over top of the press quite a bit. How do you feel like the team dealt with that? How did you adjust to them kind of dragging the tempo down a little bit?
Well, that was part of their plan. We knew they were not going to build up from behind, not even once, after their experience 3 weeks ago. That the goalkeeper was making time and using that goal kick moment to cool down the game. We knew all those things. We trained the whole week, finding ways to create chances against 2 lines of 4. So we knew the kind of system they were going to implement tonight. And by moments, I think the working point is, of course, to be a little bit more patient, to let the ball do the work, to move the opponent from side to side, and at a certain moment the spaces will come. So we had a few moments during the game where we were impatient and we made mistakes and we started to run with the ball, and we didn't use the wing backs to use maximum width of the field. On the second half was a little bit better, but again, I can't complain with the amount of chances you create against a good team, and more the opponents start to respect us. They're coming here to our field knowing that this United is a tough opponent, and we're going to keep growing, and the players earn it, that respect after only 9 games.
We'll go to Sarah. Sarah, go ahead.
Hey, good evening, Coach. Thank you for taking the time, and congratulations on the win. Absolutely incredible to watch. It was a bit of deja vu watching DC United take down Inter Miami at home. This was our last win before the pandemic. And I was wondering, what did the fans add to the experience tonight? And also, what do you hope that fans who it was their first experience watching your DC United that you're coaching, what do you hope they take away from the season?
I hope they like it. I hope they saw enough energy and entertainment. We need the fans. Every organization needs the fans. But I kind of feel that our fans are really special. They were supporting us and pushing us when we were looking for that opening goal. And due to so many fans, now I have pain in my throat. So that's a positive thing. I love to play with fans. The players love to play out with our fans, and we hope we can keep on giving good memories and good moments, so they can keep on coming to Audi Field and support us in good and bad moments, because we really need them.
We'll do one more question. We'll go to Mario Maya. Mario.
Hola, Hernan. En los últimos dos partidos contra el Inter Miami han mantenido la valla en cero. ¿Cómo han hecho para neutralizar el ataque del Inter Miami en esos dos partidos?
Bueno, creo que nuestra manera de neutralizar cualquier equipo es atacando, presionando alto, manteniendo las líneas bien compactas, presionando sobre las bandas y haciendo grandes esfuerzos. Los jugadores terminan exhaustos luego de cada partido, lo dan todo, juegan al 100%, y esa va a ser nuestra manera de jugar en casa y de visitante. Así que esperemos seguir por esta línea, y por supuesto muy contento con mantener la valla invicta. Creo que nuestros arqueros tienen muy poco trabajo, pero en muy pocas ocasiones tienen que decir presente, como hoy Dylan lo ha hecho. Así que no solo contento por los 3 puntos, también contento por la valla invicta, y esperemos seguir manteniendo esta efectividad en nuestro propio arco, pero también a poder aumentar la efectividad en el campo rival.
Coach, thank you very much.
Thank you, Zach.
All right, so that was head coach Hernan Losada in his post-game interview. We're back. We lost John.
Just like Inter Miami, we had a sending off. Hopefully, unlike Miami, we can get him back on the field.
So I'll throw it to Black first. Is there anything in that in Hernan's comments that stood out to you?
So, I think this is something that he said several times, and it's something that he mentioned again in the pregame press conference. Hernan doesn't just want to play good soccer and win games. Like, obviously, that's a advantage of playing well. He is very interested in putting out an entertaining product. He wants fans to enjoy being in the stadium, enjoy watching the team. He thinks that's the way that you continue to build loyalty, and getting results will flow from that. And I think you really saw it last night. I think before the game we were saying we don't really have any complaints. It was fun to watch. It was nice seeing a DC United team that wants to go forward, wants to create, is playing, attacking, exciting soccer. Sam, you've been all in on Losada from the get-go, and I think we're starting to see hints that might be a positive thing moving forward.
I love it. Yeah, and I think you're completely right, Black. And part of what makes it so fun is obviously there's this set system, and that in and of itself is a system that leads to entertainment. But within the system, there's so much opportunity for players to be individually creative. And you see that, and that's part of the reason I'm on this Kevin hype train, right? Is he's so much fun to watch because he has these creative moments. And I think Moses is the same way, that he is allowed to have the ball on his foot for a little bit and kind of look for that special spark, right? It's not always the easiest pass. And it's just so fun to watch. And you're right, as the players get more and more comfortable, I think we're going to see more and more of it.
Yeah, this is our first time. We're watching it live with you, so our reactions are just as fresh and just off the cuff as you guys is in the chat. But it's weird that we basically just had the same conversation. I feel like he hit on Bill's big save in the first half, on Ola's missed chances and how that could come back to bite us. It was a lot of what we just talked about, and it's reassuring, or I don't know. I'm glad that he's seeing the same things that we're seeing, because sometimes you can be too close to the sideline, right? But he seems to have a good grasp on what needs to improve. There was a lot of improved in there for a team that's on a winning streak now.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Up next, we have Bill Hamid. If you guys are ready, I'm ready to throw it to him now.
Yeah. Yeah. Go for it. We'll talk after.
All right, let's rock and roll. We'll go to Steve Goff first. Steve, go ahead, man.
Hey, Bill, thanks for your time. How would you describe how this team is coming together collectively and especially on the defensive end, registering another clean sheet?
Collectively, we're on the right track. Obviously, 2 consecutive wins are good results. Even the losses, the style of play, you could see was coming together. So, thankfully now it's starting to translate over into results, knock on wood, and we can keep this thing going because, for every team in MLS, it is about to be a very, very busy period.
We'll go to Jason Anderson.
Hi, Bill. Congrats on the win and the shutout. I kind of wanted to go off the field with my question tonight, being a big night with the Juneteenth letter sets on the kits, as well as the activities around the stadium. With your activism with Black Players for Change, I was curious your thoughts on those ideas, the things that were done today by the team and the league, as well as what might be to come down the road as well.
Yeah, I'm proud of Major League Soccer today and always, but especially today. I'm proud of Black Players for Change always, but especially today. And I'm proud of our president for making it a national holiday, a federal holiday. So I think the way that we put this together was spot on. I'm glad that the league was able to highlight this special day for so many people with the way that they set up the jerseys, the way that they styled the jerseys, and for what they're going to do with the jerseys and the boxes that they had set up in our locker room. So hopefully we can have some great options with that, and that money will go to some very nice causes where we can make some change in inner cities or whatever way the Black Players for Change, deem fit. So I'm proud today to be a Major League Soccer player, for the league to stand up, and I'm proud to be an American because Joe Biden, our president, stood for something and made it a federal holiday.
We'll go to Jose Umania. Jose.
Bill, congrats on the result. Hernan was just saying how much the press really confused Miami in these 2 matches. But from your end, on your side, what did the defense do right to limit their chances on goal?
I think that as a team, we have a game plan as to how we're going to move together, whether it's front, whether it's left, whether it's right, whether it's moving backwards. But we never really want to move backwards. We always are trying to move forward as a whole unit. So I think just our style of plays is what is kind of giving teams a little bit of problems to try to break us down. It's not only Miami. Orlando didn't really create that many chances against us. Philadelphia didn't create that many chances against us. And those are 2 big teams in the East. So I think that just our style of play is going to be very difficult for opposing teams to break down, especially when we're on it. It's not to say that other teams may have opportunities today. Miami had an opportunity where they found a player in behind, and that's when your goalkeeper has to be there to make a save for your team. And thankfully, I was. So, but it is clear for us that the way we're going to move, the way we're going to press, and the way we're going to defend is going to be difficult for a lot of teams to break us down. So as long as we keep that shape, keep that frame, and work together, the partnerships that are the positions that are next to each other on the field, those partnerships, they have to work with each other so we don't give them too much space, give opposing teams too much space to break us down.
Bill, that's it, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. See you guys.
That was DC United's own homegrown starting keeper, special spot in our hearts, Bill Hamid. Sorry.
Oh man.
And then I fumbled right at the touchline. Yeah, I mean, something I just really quickly wanted to highlight, and I'm glad that Jason asked the question, was that yesterday was Juneteenth. DC United did a lot to celebrate it, and I wanted to shout out the supporters as well. The Screaming Eagles, the District Ultras, Rose Room Collective, and 202 Unique, who came together and put up a Juneteenth TIFO. It was working with the Independent Supporters Council, who worked with Black Players for Change. So it's something that you hopefully saw across the country if you looked at other games. But just wanted to give those groups a shout for coming together, working together, and supporting a really good cause. But what else stood out to you about Bill's comments?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I really liked hearing him say is, the team as a whole, they work together and they move left together, they move right together, but they don't want to move backwards. And I think that's probably true both on the field and kind of where they want to go this season. And hearing that, what I wanted to ask you guys is, do we think we're at a point where we can sufficiently say DC United have kind of rounded the corner on Losada ball, and we're now, it doesn't mean we're playing 100%. It doesn't mean we're doing everything the way we want to. We've played a couple bad teams in a row here, but do we think the team now understands and are of the collective mindset of here's how we're going to play, versus at the beginning of the season, there were still those tendencies to kind of fall back into the old ways of doing things?
I'd like to see more than Miami to be able to say that we're rounding the corner. I definitely think the team is getting more comfortable with it. I think, we're seeing that they can put it in place for longer and longer periods. I'm definitely not saying I'm not sold, but I'm happy to take more evidence that we are getting to the place where they want to be, because you get hints of it from Losada that they're not quite there still, but jury's still out for me.
I think that's the measured approach here. I agree with that. Like Bill mentioned, we did play well against some really good teams in the East. Orlando and Philly will be up. They're going to be playoff teams for sure. And we played them well. We didn't win either of those games because we are still on this journey of changing styles. So I think it's coming, and maybe these past two wins against, a little bit weaker Miami team are the building blocks that get us there, so we can beat the Orlandos and Phillies and LAFCs, Seattles, that we're going to have to if we actually want to make a big run here. Yeah,
I think it's all about momentum, really, for any team, right? Getting these wins, even if they weren't against the toughest competition, it is easier to move forward and to continue getting wins on top of that versus saying, if, it was a tougher opponent, saying, oh, we played really well, it didn't come off, I'm thinking like against Columbus. I don't necessarily think we played well that game. Sorry. John, to answer your question, I do think we're seeing it come together a little bit more. Like Black said, we're seeing those Benny Ball tendencies fewer and fewer in games. And I think that this international break probably really helped international break, and then getting some of those key players who were out due to injuries back. I think it's all kind of coming together at the right time. And you're right. I'm excited to see it happen in future games against tougher opponents.
Yeah, I don't think we've heard the word fitness in a couple of weeks, probably because we were on break. But, I mean, just it's hitting me now. I mean, it was humid and warm last night, and nobody really looked winded. I mean, they looked comfortable. They looked like they were, subs were made at the right times. Players were obviously exhausted at the end of the game. But earlier this season, fitness was the word. And at least to me, from that part of Losada ball, I think we're starting to get there, which is the foundation of everything he wants to do.
And, speaking of fitness, so we have to talk about Gonzalo Higuain missing the game for fitness reasons, particularly after his quote that came out this week. What was it that he expected to show up and be able to play with a cigarette in his mouth, and then to miss his next game because of fitness?
I think DC United officials reached out and reminded him that Audi Field is a non-smoking venue. Decided to bag the trip.
That was a good one, John.
I have my moments.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, that sucked. I thought we were kind of beyond that as a league, because every big name player who comes over here says, oh, yeah, this is actually a pretty difficult league to play in. Lots of travel. The weather's all over the place. Like, I really thought we were past individuals thinking that they were above that.
Yeah. And
his brother plays in the league.
Yeah.
Like, what was he thinking with that comment?
Yeah.
Like, what is...
But that was the second part of his quote, was that he's learned now that that's not true and that he's been struggling because of that. And,
Yeah.
yes, it takes a lot of fitness and struggle and work effort. DC United person who embodies those ideals is Paul Arriola, and that's who we have up next.
What a transition.
Hey, Paul, it's Zach. Congrats on the 3 points, man.
Zach, thank you. Appreciate that.
Awesome. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. We'll go to Steve Goff. Steve.
Hey, Paul, thanks for your time. The team created a lot of great chances in the first half and throughout the game. What was the level of frustration, or how much patience did it take to keep at it and not lose your way before scoring?
Yeah, I think obviously it's good that we're creating clear chances. And yeah, I think obviously, I think overall, I think we'd all agree that it just there was a few things that were just a little bit off today. And obviously that's just kind of how sports go, and any game can kind of be like that. But I was really proud of the team and the way that everybody kind of stuck together and stayed at it. Because I think it's easy to fall and to kind of accept that it feels like it's not your day, and the ball's not going to go in the back of the net. And obviously in the end, we get a couple calls and then we're able to put one away, and obviously ends up with the 3 points, and that's kind of the most important thing and the one thing that we'll take away from this game.
We'll go to Jason Anderson. Jason.
Hi, Paul. Congrats. Thanks for speaking with us. I asked this of Hernan. It seemed like Miami really wanted to slow the game down. He said that you guys prepared all week for attacking 2 banks of 4. How do you think you did as a group dealing with that aspect of the game, the fact that they didn't just sit deep, but also really wanted to slow things down, and you guys obviously want to speed things up so much?
Yeah, I think, obviously I think we could have done better. I think there's always room for improvement, but, they did well. I mean, I'll be honest with you, on the right side for the majority of the game, it was tough to kind of, break through with Andy, myself, and Julian. I think there was kind of something that just seemed a little bit off, and we weren't able to grasp what it was in the moment, at least from my perspective. But again, we created good chances from crossing, which was great. Obviously, I think if a couple of our shots go in earlier, chances go in earlier in the game, it's a completely different game. But again, it just kind of is about sticking with it and keep pushing. And in the end, all that pushing ends up into a penalty kick. Okay, that's fine. But ultimately, it's good to kind of keep this momentum and kind of keep this rhythm of winning, creating this type of culture of constantly winning, and especially at home.
Paul, one more question. How did it feel seeing your name back with the national team for the Gold Cup preliminary roster? And not just yours, but the other 4 guys as well at the club.
Yeah, it was great. Obviously anytime you get a chance to go with the national team, it's a privilege. I'm really excited for the other guys just to be on the roster. I think that's great. Bill, who's been there before, but Donovan and Kevin and Moses had an opportunity, knowing that Greg is watching carefully and watching what you're doing, and it kind of shows the young guys how important it is to know that what you're doing at your club is you're being looked and you're being watched from the national team coach. So I think that's great, and I think all those guys have amazing potential, and I think they continue to play the way that they are. They'll get some chances, and hopefully they come sooner than later. But for myself, it's good. It's exciting. Obviously, I just kind of focus on one game at a time right now, and if I'm able to be on the final roster, I'll be extremely happy with that, and going to win the tournament. But as of right now, I think it's all for me, DC United and staying fit, and obviously trying to help the team win game after game.
Paul, that's it, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, that was Paul Arriola, and shouts to Zach for really swerving in with that USMNT question. Love it. So happy for all those guys. But just generally, what did y'all think about Paul's answers?
Yeah, I think the one thing that stuck out to me the most, Sam, was he said Julian, Andy, and me, working together, and that's something that specifically him and Julian we've talked a lot about over the past year or so, of like, we can't wait to get these guys both out there together, both healthy, and you add in Nahar and how well he's been playing, and it's been fun to watch. And I'm glad to see that that's something that the players specifically are thinking about and working to build that chemistry, because Nahar keeps playing the way he's playing.
All right, John, I'm gonna interrupt you for a second because we're getting a call.
Yep.
Hey, you're on with Tried and True. I'm gonna let you introduce yourself.
Hey guys, it's Jake here calling from QOG Unique. How are you guys doing today?
Good. We're super excited to talk to Jake today. I'll let you just jump right in with 202 Unique, the newest supporters group. Go ahead and break that down for our listeners.
Sure. So 202 Unique is your local LGBTQ plus supporters group. We created the group mostly because we wanted to have a voice in the section. Not that there was necessarily overwhelming need, more or less, but we felt that, due to a couple of incidents, that the LGBTQ needed to have their own crew, their own safe location to go to. And we took a page from Rose Room, so a bunch of us kind of got together, and we launched last night, as you saw, and all the flags in the section. It was great, and we're just really happy to be here.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I gave y'all, I guess, a little teaser shout earlier in the show for really coming together and being a big part of that TIFO that went up yesterday. So we're excited to welcome you into the supporter section. I'll ask you also just kind of what you generally thought about the game. We worked really hard to get that TIFO up, and then we got to sit back and relax and watch 3 points. So what'd you think of the game last night?
Yeah, so, personally, I was at the game in Miami. We brought the pride flags down to Miami with us, so that was a fun game to attend. I thought the 1-0 scoreline was not necessarily accurate of how the game went. I thought we definitely played much better than the scoreline read. I think we had a lot of chances. There was a hit post early in the game, a couple of missed headers that kind of skied over the bar. But all in all, I think the result was appropriate for how the team played. So I think that it was fun. I thought the energy in the stadium was insane. First game back at full capacity. I also thought that it was really cool to see not just the Chico stand going, but also the whole stadium involved. So it was a really fun time. Awesome.
I'll ask you too. You mentioned being in Miami, and I know you travel to a bunch of away games, and we're a group that loves to travel as well. So what's one of your favorite away days to travel to?
Oh, man, you're putting me on the spot here. So I'm biased. I'm from Philadelphia originally, so every time we go to Philly, I always have fun because I get to go home.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, Portland's always a fun road trip. Anytime we beat Red Bulls in their stadium, it's a good time.
Yep.
So that's always fun. But, for me, I think just my favorite road trip thus far has to be the Columbus game when the stadium went on fire. That was pretty cool, and I am going to miss their stadium.
Hopefully a once-in-a-lifetime experience there.
Yeah.
Jake, as someone who's both at the away and home Miami games, was there a noticeable difference in how the team played, or was the difference only how many times the team put the ball in net?
I think that the team, in terms of how they played, I think it looked very much similar. I thought, so you got to understand, right? We watched Ben Olsen style soccer for 13, 10, I've lost track of how many years. This is a complete, change from that, right? So this team is first and foremost fun to watch now, even when they're not scoring. Even when they're not scoring, they're fun and entertaining, which is what you want at the very least. I thought they've gotten better each game. And I think that they played just as aggressively as they did in Miami. I just think that they didn't finish as much. And had it not been for a couple weird bounces, it probably would have been a 2 or 3-0 win.
I think you're spot on there.
So we don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do want to take it back to 202 Unique for just a minute. And I was wondering kind of what you have envisioned for your group. Are you envisioning tailgates and road trips? Or are you focusing on the experience in the stands right now? Where do you hope to take this group?
Sure. So we have a couple of different things. The first thing we got asked right off the bat was, is it just going to be LGBTQ members or allies? So it's open to everybody, allies and LGBTQ members. We're going to have different levels of, who can join and where. So there's that. But one of the biggest things we want to make sure we make clear to everybody is that we're not just, an in the stands on game day group and then we're done. We are focusing on LGBTQ outreach and pushing the team to be involved in LGBTQ community activism. And, we've told the team that we're going to be on them and that we expect them to do more than just one Pride game a year in terms of that being their outreach. We expect them to go out into the community and do a year-long program of actually doing outreach. One of the biggest things we're currently working with them on is doing outreach with LGBTQ youth and getting them involved in soccer. And we're pushing them to start programs for that. So that's one thing we're working on. Obviously, we want to make the section more welcoming as well. But the big thing for us right now is making the section welcome, doing LGBTQ volunteerism and activism and outreach, and then also just giving a safe place for LGBTQ members to come and enjoy the beautiful game.
Well, that sounds great. Looking forward to it. John and Black are also here, but because of the way our technology works, you wouldn't be able to hear when they're talking. So I just wanted to be clear, that's why they've been super silent, but they've been sending questions. Some of the questions Joshua asked were from them. And I say that to say that you definitely have allies in us. Thanks so much for calling in and talking with the group about the new exciting things that you're doing. And again, we look forward to seeing what happens, and let us know however we can support you.
Yeah. Do you have any socials, or how can people find you?
Yeah, so we're at 202 Unique on Twitter. We have an Instagram. We haven't launched it yet. It's funny because we weren't planning to launch yesterday. It just so happened that one of the Spirit players came out as trans, and then we were like, okay, we need to be on this and really support this. So it was like, we're going to go now. The plan was to wait a week and do it next week, but everybody was like, we want to go today. So Twitter is up. We'll have a website soon. You can check us out, but Twitter is our most way of outreach, and that's where we'll be. And I just want to say real quick to you guys do a great show, and thank you so much for having me, and love you guys. You guys are great.
Aw, thanks, Jake. Right back at you. It was so fun hanging out with you tomorrow, and looking forward to many more home games to come. Thanks for calling in.
Have a good day, guys.
You too.
Bye.
Cheers, Jake. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, Sam, it's the classic. The way that our technology is set up, we can't quite connect all the people together.
Yeah, I realized
it's not about being able to talk to Jake, but that was great to hear.
Yeah, super great. He's great. Yeah, I loved hanging out with him at the tailgate yesterday, and as I said, looking forward to seeing what happens with 202. And also, traveling with him again, right? He travels all the time. He mentioned going down to Miami.
That's a thing we can do now.
I know, right? We've got some trips planned up, so I'm just looking forward to when those big kind of travel parties happen again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt. And guys, I'll tell you, the section, we talked a little bit about it earlier. It was very loud yesterday. It definitely having a full house was good. And Sam, you talked a little bit about the Juneteenth tifo, but there was also a Pride tifo that went up yesterday as well, which looked great on TV from the pictures I saw. As you reminded me, I was in the Pupusa line when it happened. But I'm glad to see that went on.
Yeah, it's super exciting. There's an annual United Night Out. That's really the center Pride event that DC United does with one of the supporters. We'll probably have to have him on around that show. He's been doing it for years. So, I think there's talks about there being like a Pride specific tifo. Obviously yesterday was Juneteenth, but then with just some of the incidences that have been happening around, again, all the supporters came together and felt that was an important message that needed to be shared. But yeah, there were the rainbow banners as well, and I thought it looked really good. I'm just happy it went up. I do not have a lot of tifo experience, so I appreciate everyone coming together and helping me with that one.
No, it was awesome to get it up. Everyone was like, all right, hold on, what are we actually raising? And I was like, oh, that's reasonable. Showed them the picture, and everyone was about it. Everyone was more than willing to help out. And yeah, I think the total display looked really great. I'm glad we all got together and were able to do something.
Yeah. So I'm hearing that we...
It's an important partnership, and...
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, John.
I was just going to say, there's an important partnership, amongst the supporters groups. And speaking of partnerships, we're excited to partner with Manscaped for this episode, who is the best in middle waist grooming champions of the world. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right. the 4.0. Join over 2 million men and women worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, our loyal listeners: 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code Tried and True. That's TRIEDANDTRUE at manscaped.com. Guys, we had the chance to try out the 4.0. I'll tell you, I was impressed once I actually got the little guard to go on properly. It worked very well, and it's something I didn't know that I needed, and now I know I need it.
The guard is important. Important to make sure you're being safe down there, but it does what it does what we need it to do, and couldn't be happier with our lawnmowers.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. The battery lasts forever. I haven't charged mine, I think, since we got it. It's just been kind of sitting in the shower. It lasts forever. We had a friend over last night, and she picked it up. She's like, "This is so cool! Like, the light's awesome!" So, I mean, she hadn't tried it, but she was impressed just looking at it. So, and I was like, "Can't vouch. Use code Tried and True for 20% off and free shipping." I mean, again, the boxers, so soft. Cannot recommend. If you're already ordering the 4.0, also get the boxers. They're amazing. Anything else? Yeah, but we love partnering with Manscaped.
No, I think it's it. Thanks to Manscaped for helping.
Awesome. So our call-in line is open now for at least a little while the technology cooperates with us. John, you want to drop that number that I have yet to memorize? Yeah.
Absolutely. It's 540-986-4833. That's 540-9-UNITED, and you can join the show and let us know your thoughts on the game. And shifting back to before we talked about Jake, we were talking a little bit about Paul's comments, and I had mentioned his partnership brewing and flourishing with Gressel and with Andy Nahar. I think is going to take this team to some exciting new heights. And when you shift to the other side of the field, you've got young Kevin Paredes out there who's kicking butt. The attack, the pieces are there except for finishing. We talked a little bit about Ola Kamara. Seagoff asked, very pointed question of Coach Losada, who says he believes in Ola, but I don't know what needs to happen up top other than trying out some new personnel in the transfer window, or it could be a matter of he's just got to get hot. He's got to get the confidence back, and I don't know. Does a PK do that for a striker? Does that unlock some level of confidence, or what needs to happen for Ola?
I think it's better that he made it versus if he missed it, right?
Where would he be if
that
he
would have been horrendous. I don't know. I don't scoring in the run of play, that feels like the more important thing, right? So again, obviously if he had missed that PK, it'd be a different conversation, but he really just needs to put one in the back of the net. He had so many opportunities, and you just need to see more from him. And it's great that Hernan has that confidence in him and that he's putting his faith in him. But I mean, at a certain point, you do kind of got to move on. And wasn't there a quote that said that they weren't necessarily looking at anyone in the transfer window? Didn't Lucy say that?
There was tempering of expectations. Well,
Okay.
One, because DC United's roster is full, we would have to move someone, Yamil Assad, and then find some money and bring in someone else. But yeah, DC United has a bunch of strikers on the roster now, and there's probably not a budget for one in the future. It's gonna be Ola or Roberta or, man, I don't know. Maybe we should try Yamil. Maybe somebody needs to come through. Yeah, and it was kind of interesting hearing everyone mention the missed chances, and that's gonna weigh on Ola a decent amount. Hernan said Ola knows what he knows. He knows that he has to be better there, and he's been capable of it before. We haven't seen it too much for the black and red, but hopefully we do, or something's gonna have to change there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hesitant to drag Ola too much because we have certainly talked about his shortcomings before, and he did have an excellent game the last time he played Miami. It was very clear last night that it was not his night as far as finishing, and the entire team has talked about the need to put the ball in the back of the net and really be clinical in the final third. Some of the instances we saw yesterday, hitting him in the chest about something like 3 yards away from the goal and not being able to put it on, a header where he had a lot more time than he thought he did, and didn't end up putting it in. But both of those instances, the ball bounced around and another player had a shot too. So I'm not necessarily going to put it all on Ola, except to say that if you're the starting striker for a team and you get 3 very, very clear chances, the one where he was offside but tried to chip the keeper and didn't really get that close as well, it comes to mind. Again, if you're the starting striker for the team, if you're the guy who we're looking for 2 for goals and the only one that you manage to convert is from the spot, you've got to find ways to get around that. And we thought that we were seeing him turn the corner last game. He sounded confident in the discussions this week during the press conferences. Y'all are right that Losada didn't let on about making any moves aside from the normal scouting around, but they've got to find ways to finish those goals, because if Olaf finishes 2 or 3 of those and we're looking at a 3-0, 4-0 victory, no one has complaints about Olaf's finishing then.
Yeah. And to take it another step back, he's tied 7th in the league for goals scored. So not too far off the Golden Boot. Only 3 goals off the leaders. Chicharito.
Is he on pace for 20?
Look, guys,
I can't tell you how many times
that's
I went to Joshua last night and said that.
I'll have to do up the numbers. I'll have them ready for next show. But he's not at the ballpark for 20. It would be a lot if he scored the chances he has, and I think that's why we're all frustrated, right? Not because he's not gone missing. He scored as many goals as he did last year already this year, so he's been a bit more apparent. But yeah, he's had so many more chances that he should have scored. And maybe that's where some of the frustration comes from.
Yeah, I think one, thing that maybe we can hold on to if we don't have the budget for another striker, and Kamara kind of stays on form, is this is a system that really relies on goals coming from not just your striker, because the entire team is pushed so high up the field. You have so many people in the box that it's not necessarily going to Kamara every time, right? It's going to another player who's getting that shot off. And again, there were several players who missed several shots last night. So shooting practice is probably on the docket for tomorrow, right? But, at least we can rely on some of our midfielders to maybe get in some type of scoring form. This isn't Benny ball where we're just lobbing it over the top and hoping that our forward outruns the entire defense and puts a shot on goal.
Yeah, chance creation is there. I think the goals will come. I hope they come quicker than we all fear. Speaking of which, we got to award a man of the match. The team last night gave it to one Andy Nahar. I agree with them. I think that's the right call. I think Andy had a great game, doing a lot of the little things, really getting the crowd into it with some of the moves he was making out there, laying off some great passes. So I'm gonna concur with the team and give my man of the match to Andy Nahar. Let's go to Sam.
Oh, I wanted to go last. I'm going to give it to Pines. I screamed, yes, Donnie, so many times yesterday. I think I said it before, he played a really good game. He looked really confident out there after, coming off a stint not being on the team due to injury. And, he's probably feeling himself a little bit after being on that preliminary Gold Cup roster, right? Now's the time to shine. So well-deserved from Donovan Pines for me.
Joshua.
I'll go. Yeah. I'm also going to agree with the team. I think Andy Nahar has been fantastic, and anyone who listened to the show earlier or saw my tweets, I was super concerned with Andy Nahar's injury history, and he hadn't played more than 7 games in a season for like the past 7 seasons. That's a lot, but he seems to be able to fit into this team, and he's done well, and we haven't super relied on him, but we did last night, and he came through in great ways. We talked about the nutmeg and the dribbles up the field. I'm going to give an honorable mention to Bill Hamid because home game back, he made a huge save in the first half, and we talked about it. It might have been another Orlando City game where they get a goal real quick and then they bunker, and then we don't get the points at all. So Bill deserves a shout there, but Andy Nahar is my man of the match.
I would have loved to have been in a position to give Ola the man of the match again. If he had that hat trick, it would have been easy. I agree with y'all. I think that Andy Nahar had a great game. He was really the guy animating. hopefully this is a breakthrough for him. We can talk more about roster setup and where we're seeing things moving forward. But I was happy to see how we were set up yesterday. Nahar flourished. He had a fantastic game. I think the stats from who scored and the other aggregators have borne that out as well. That Nahar had a great game. Also, a shout out to Kevin Paredes, because we can't go a man of the match segment without talking about him.
I wasn't gonna bring it up. Maybe if you hadn't actually.
he's fun to watch. Really coming into his own, attacking down the side, taking players on. Still raw, but love to see him play. But again, my man of the match is Andy Nahar.
The one honorable mention I'll throw out there, and I'm looking forward to rewatching the entire game, is Mark Ingram, new part owner of DC United, who apparently dropped into the broadcast booth last night and was just fire. I saw tweets from a number of our listeners that were watching the game at home, couldn't make it out of field last night. And there's one specific clip that I'll retweet from the show account here in just a second if you didn't see it, when Grigori got his second yellow card. You just hear Mark Ingram, like, it almost sounds like he's in the back of the broadcast booth, like not terribly close to a mic, and he's just like, bye, you can't do that. It's just gold. It seems like both Dave and Devin had a great time with him, and we haven't had a show since Ingram bought into the team, but came out of left field, and the valuation of DC United was to the moon. $700+ million. This is huge. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
We have no idea what stake he bought. You could have some kind of extreme numbers. I'm sure that it was more than a pocket change for sure, but it's exciting. It's a team that's in a good location. There are lots of advantages to it. Happy to see that valuation come out there, and if we get more entertaining content from Mark, either in the booth or maybe he wants to come over to the sports stand and hang out for a while, I'm all for it.
We'll have him jump on the show too.
Hey.
Yeah, I think more and more across the world, you're seeing fans really want their owners engaged, and at least a little bit care about the team, and it looks like he definitely does. You're right, John. I'm super excited to kind of just listen back to him, really watch the game, but also really just listen back to him. So it's exciting to see that he's super hyped for the team, and it doesn't look superficial or just for now, and we're never going to see him again. It looks like he's going to be pretty involved.
Roll Tide. Oh man,
good.
No.
One other thing I was gonna say we haven't talked about since we had a show was potentially the wildest soccer game I've ever watched, which was the Nations League final between the U.S. and Mexico. No DC United players involved in that game in particular, but that was bananas. And it was on far too late, but well worth the lack of sleep the next day to bring home arguably the most coveted trophy in the world.
Oh man.
Oh wow, John, you have to keep talking. None of us can follow you saying that.
I mean, what other trophy has been brought out to the stadium via the stanky leg? Come on.
Oh man.
Yeah, that was a crazy game. That was a really fun one. The shouts to Franklin Hall, because I'm sure that they were told that we'd be out far, far earlier than we were. And the atmosphere looked amazing. I talked to some people who were there, and they said they basically all missed their flights, their red-eye flights. They kind of, I think, went to a bar and immediately rewatched the game because none of them could really believe that had just happened.
That's a 3-hour game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it was funny seeing a friend tweet afterwards, because she didn't watch it live. She watched it the next day, and she saw the time on the recording, and she said, "This can't be real." And everyone's, "Oh yeah, it's 3 hours." So yeah, it was a fun one. It was definitely a classic in the making.
Oh, and it's got me excited for Gold Cup. I know the rosters are going to be different, but Paul mentioned a little bit earlier that he's one of the guys on the initial roster for the United States. I think DC United had 4 or 5 other players on the U.S. roster, and maybe another guy or two out there. And it definitely looks like things are heading up for the U.S. national team, which cannot happen soon enough.
Yeah, and that's the thing kind of Paul touched about, that this is, I think only Paul will make it out of this group. Maybe Bill will actually make the final roster, but it's good for the players to know that the national team manager is at least watching you, and it gives you a couple, like, a little bit more to play for, right? If you know that, hey, if I play outstanding the next few games, I could potentially play in a competition for my country. Like that's not nothing. And so I'm excited for what this means for Paul to be back, obviously, and Bill to be back, but also the added attention and credit to Naima and Paredes and man, who's the last one I'm missing?
Donnie.
Yeah.
Donnie. Yeah. No, I think for sure the opportunity for Paul and Bill is big. I suspect. Oh man, I hope for his national team career, Bill makes the final cut for the Gold Cup. For a DC United career, it'd be nice to have him here, but it's that trade-off. But I think Paul is hopefully going to be able to play his way back into the A-team roster and be involved in World Cup qualifying. But as you look ahead to World Cup qualifying, it's going to be a busy 8 months coming up here. I mean, there's windows with 3 games, which is ridiculous.
In like 5 days or something crazy like that. It's 3 games very close together.
But not look close together geographically. You're going to have to fly far as hell. They're going to need a deep pool to get through some of this stuff. You know, fans of you know that follow all the teams in Europe look at this and they're like, oh, come on, you got to go away to El Salvador. Like, they're a terrible team. You'll beat them. No, you won't. You know, it's not an easy thing to do. We can talk more at length, you know, as we get closer about all the craziness that goes into CONCACAF. But Bearholder's going to need a deep roster in order to be successful here, and I think the Gold Cup's a big opportunity for guys like Paul. And I think there's room in that goalkeeper depth chart for Bill Hamid. You know, we saw Horvath come in with some heroics after Stefan got hurt. Who's number 3, and why not Bill Hamid? So if he's given that opportunity in the Gold Cup, there's a lot of national team games this year. So, and like you said, Joshua, for Nyman's going to be tough right now. He's also got a weird passport situation, but yeah, just the fact that the manager's got eyes on these kids, like they'll get their call up when the time's right, whether that's, you know, Gold Cup this year or, you know, tune-up games in January or, you know, whenever. But it's exciting, and it's exciting to see DC United players in the picture.
Yeah, I literally just couldn't remember a player that was on a preliminary roster for the U.S. national team on DC United. When's the last time we ever had more than 2 players? When was the last time I would ever be able to do that? So it's super exciting times for DCU players in that regard.
Definitely looking forward to it. I mean, I'll watch these kids play all day long, any team. So any team, while they're still also a DC United player, please don't leave us.
Around the district last night, there were a lot of teams in action.
Yep.
Loudon, I feel like I say this every year, they lost again to Hartford. For whatever reason, they can't beat that team 2-1. Oh, man. Loudon remained a lot of fun to watch, and I don't know if you guys had a chance to listen to Lucy Rushton's interview on Filibuster, but you know, she talked a little bit about how they are trying to push the same sort of vision and style across the organization, and it's not an easy thing to do, but Loudon remain a lot of fun to watch, and well, now they've dug themselves a bit of a hole in the standings.
Oh man, they are fun, and it is because the manager didn't change. Ryan Martin is still there, but he's now trying to implement a completely different play style, and he's got mostly the same players. It's Kudu Pichero is still down there. He's doing well. I think we might see him bumped up, but definitely keep an eye out for Loudon.
Yeah, and if you can go out to a match, they're super fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say you guys made it out recently. Good trip, good time.
Yeah. It's a lot less intense, but you're also a lot closer to the game. So it was a fun time.
Yeah, drive out wasn't too bad either. I was shocked we went on a Tuesday, and there was not much traffic at all. So I don't know if that's still a COVID situation, but drive wasn't that bad. So don't let that stop you.
Got Sager Field blowing up on a Tuesday. The other game yesterday was the Spirit getting a draw against Kansas City. That was their first trip out there since Kansas City relocated. That's their upcoming game, rather. They drew last night 1-1 with Chicago.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I did not have a chance to watch any of those highlights.
No, went to sleep with DC United, woke up with DC United. So I haven't either, but just generally, that team is really fun to watch right now. I think their pieces are finally coming together. It's been a struggle of some years recently, but we've got some talent. Trinity Rodman, obviously, everyone's talking about her, but she is so much fun to watch.
Scored last night. She is a phenomenal talent. Maybe one of the most. I don't know. She's also kind of raw. She's a teenager and in the league for the first time, but has the talent. You can tell.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, definitely another kid who's gonna go far. And another team that's super fun to watch. We went to a Spirit game at Audi Field as well, and that was super fun. The Spirit Squadron is such a fun group. They're amazing. So I think even if you don't generally sit in the supporter section for DC United games, it's a very different feel. So if you're open to kind of standing and chanting, it's it's just like a completely different. Both I love them both, right? I stand in the section for both, but it's a lot of fun. So I'd recommend giving it a shot.
Yeah, and upcoming this week, it's another midweeker for DC United. They play away to Montreal at Fort Lauderdale on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. So we'll talk to you guys around 10:15 or so after the game.
Yeah.
Look forward to breaking that one down. Another potential trip to Montreal foiled for this group, but we'll get there one of these years.
One day.
Hey, the team's been enjoying their trips to Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can keep that going.
Very true.
They took the same flight back with
It's a little awkward, yeah, I'm sure.
Save some money on the combined charter. What do we miss, guys?
Well, before we wrap up, I want to shout out Walt and Rebecca, who are two of our listeners who were at the Screaming Eagles tailgate yesterday and came over and talked to Joshua and I for a little while. They were super fun. Really appreciate the listen. They were telling us that they saw the Miami coaching staff at the wharf getting ice cream, and they offered to buy the entire team ice cream if that meant that they were going to have, be a little sluggish for the game. So appreciate their dedication to really doing whatever it takes to make sure DC United gets those 3 points. But yeah, they were super fun to talk to. Really appreciate them coming up and saying hi, and always appreciate the listen.
Yeah, and as we just kind of went through, we were at most of the games, soccer games in the district, and we will probably be tailgating at them. Feel free to come up and chat, give us your takes, as long as they're respectful and fun and nice. We're always here for that.
And we bought a buttload of stickers last year. So if we can remember to bring them to these events, we will give you stickers.
Oh man.
Yeah. I also just wanted to shout Happy Father's Day. I know some of our listeners are fathers, or they have fathers, Happy Father's Day to everyone. Appreciate those who are spending their Father's Day with us this morning, or, listening later or listening throughout the week. Really appreciate it. And just wanted to reiterate, kind of like we said at the beginning of the show, that this isn't going to be our normal format. We are hoping to go back to immediately after the games. It was just some logistics. Obviously, DC United is opening full capacity, right? That was a lot on their plate. But we are hoping to be in the stadium soon. And coming up next is an away game. So our logistics are fine. We're just going to sit down, watch the game, do a show. But it will be directly after the game again.
Yeah, awesome. Well, for Michael, Sam, and Joshua, I'm John. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning or midweek. And we will talk to you guys on Wednesday night as DC United take on Montreal Club de Foot, right? I was going to go into my usual L'Impact, but Club de Foot, whatever the hell they're called. It's Wednesday night at Fort Lauderdale, and we'll talk to you guys soon.